This is the Blackout Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Blackout Podcast, where I get to talk to amazing people that do amazing things. And today, oh my God, I'm gonna do it again. But like, you know when you said you have tattoos everywhere?
Yeah. I know. I guess you saw me like behind. Like,
yeah, you had your
last
dress
time.
on
Yeah.
and the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll do it again. No, don't cut it. Don't cut it. It's fine. Yeah, it's fine. Okay. Hello and welcome to the Blackout Podcast, where I get to talk to amazing people that do amazing things. And today I have Tasha Tonks from, is it Three Swords Tattoo or Three Sword Tattoo?
Three of Swords tattoo
Three
parlor.
of Swords.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll do it again. Three of Swords.
Tattoo parlor.
Sweet. No, I'll lean back. There? Yep, you're good. Sweet. Hello and welcome to the Blackout Podcast, where I get to talk to amazing people that do amazing things. And today I have Tasha Tonks of Three of Swords Tattoo Parlour in Halifax.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
I'm great. How are you?
Okay, let's start with our name first. And thanks for the t-shirt, by the way. You know,
You're welcome.
repping. What's your first, okay, now let's start with the shop. What's the name? How did you choose that name?
Three of Swords is actually a tarot card.
Oh.
It's
Wait,
from
those
Minor
cards with
Arcana.
like the skeletons and the stuff, right?
There's some skeletons, yeah. There's like a lot of other things too. But Three of Swords is just like a card that I find is like a very powerful image. Just kind of like says strength to me, you know. It's something I've had tattooed on me for a really long time. So when like finding a name, like I was like debating a few things and that just kept coming back to me, you know, and it just really, you know, when you just feel something and it feels right. That was it, you know?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. And what does a card mean? Like they all have meanings, right?
Yeah, they all have meanings and they can mean different things with how they come up in placement in like your reading or like how the card comes up like forward or reversed.
Oh, okay.
So the Three of Swords isn't like necessarily the best card. It's a card that means that you're passing through a period of like trouble and grief and like pain. It's a lot of rain in the card. It looks very kind of ominous when you look at it. But when the card comes up in a reading and it's reversed, it means that you have passed through that period, which really for me, like I feel like that like really resonates deep with me.
Okay. So then let's rewind now. Like when did you have your very first tattoo?
I got my first tattoo when I was 17 years old. I was still in high school.
What was
my dad
it?
took me. It was a big flower on my back.
Like how big? Like
Like big for like a first tattoo. Like it was like, you know, like
Okay.
that. And then later I like added all these vines off it and stuff. And now it's like, wow, I really wish I didn't get that. And I wish I didn't make it bigger.
Why not?
It's just not the greatest quality. I didn't really know what to look for in a tattoo artist. Now we have Instagram, you know, like this was like, like 13, 14 years ago that I was getting my first tattoo. And I like if I had Instagram at that time, I would have just like known what I liked better and who to go find. But I just like picked the only shop that would tattoo me underage and like went in and was like, please, you know, my dad's going to sign. And yeah, so.
Like did you know you wanted a flower, or it was until you got to the shop that you decided you'll get that tattoo?
Oh, I like definitely wanted this flower, and you know how they're like, oh, it's your first tattoo, you have to like think about it really hard. I like had this picture next to my bed for like a year, knew I wanted
wow.
it, right? Yeah. And now I'm like, oh my God, I should have just picked something off the wall. It would have been way cooler.
So you get this tattoo, like was it painful?
I mean, all tattoos are kind of
See,
painful.
thank you for saying that. You know, I hate when people are like, no, it's not really painful.
Yeah.
But like, it's a painless stabbing your
It's
skin.
like, so it's like a cat scratch on top of a sunburn, but it's like repetitive and doesn't stop. And like the longer it goes on, the more annoying it is. Like I have a good, like I can sit for 5 hours of tattooing and then like I'm done. I'm crying.
Like, what would be possible to achieve in 5 hours of?
It depends on the artist and how quickly they work and like the area of the skin, like how much it stretches. But like the longest I sat was like my stomach. And that was like in a convention setting too. So like there's people walking around and like when you start crying, like people are going to see it.
You cry?
I cried. Yeah. At the very end. I made it to like, you know.
Okay. What was the tattoo? What was it like? A shape of what?
It's like a dagger with a snake around it. It's
Oh,
like
okay.
pretty cool and badass. A guy named
Um.
Kevin Davidson from Wartooth Tattoo in Toronto did it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And where was the convention?
It was actually here in Halifax.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you get this tattoo at 17, and like, were you drawing then? Just drawing stuff.
Yeah, I actually drew that tattoo for myself.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just like a lily flower, and like the reference came from Google, and I'm pretty sure even still if you Google like lily flower, it's one of the first ones that comes up. So I don't know, like a lot of people must have this tattoo. Yeah.
So you get the tattoo, you draw. When he transforms to, hey, I could be doing this.
I think it started when I was working for a place called Rock Candy Boutique, and it was a store that was like downtown Halifax for a really long time. We were gonna sell our T-shirts and stuff at the Maritime Tattoo Convention, and the Maritime Tattoo Convention was very like new at the time, and we went, and I was getting tattooed at this point. I didn't have a lot. And it kind of like introduced me to the convention and travel scene of tattooing. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. Like, I really want to be a part of this, And that just kind of like got my mind like turning of like, maybe I could do this. But it wasn't a long time before like I actually started tattooing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow. And so like what's the process? So you decide, okay, I'm going to tattoo, then what?
Usually the process is that you find somebody to apprentice you, and that person will take you on. Usually it's somebody who you get tattooed by or like shows interest in like your art and stuff. I had a really hard time finding a proper apprenticeship.
Why?
I was like dating someone at the time that I really wanted them to teach me, and I thought it was going to happen that way. And we ended up breaking up. And when we did, I had kind of like turned down some other like prospects along the way, like hoping that I would have the like apprenticeship with him.
Man.
So at that point, I was just kind of like, you know what, I'm just gonna do this. And I went ahead and I just like taught myself how to tattoo. I did have a lot of help along the way from other artists, but in the end, I was in a room by myself figuring it out.
Wait, so like, would you do it on yourself or you get friends?
I did a couple tattoos on myself, but I pretty much just jumped into tattooing my friends right away. They were very trusting. And like, here you go, so that's really great. They were really awesome. And a lot of my really close friends have my first work, and we can look at it and be like, oh, look at that. Should cover that up. But
like, I mean, so how long did you get to a point where you felt you could get, you should have people paying for what you were doing?
People were offering to pay me like right away, like tipping me.
Holy shit.
For the most part, just because they know that like supplies are expensive and stuff, and I was spending my money to like do this. So it was when people who like weren't my friends started reaching out because they saw my work on Friends or on Instagram. They saw my drawings and stuff because I was painting and drawing for a long time before I started tattooing. When those people started reaching out, I just started charging, and yeah, it was very small fees at first. Like I was charging like $60 for a tattoo that maybe took me like 3 hours to do. But yeah, my rates have gone up since then. Yeah.
So let's talk about the arts a bit. What age did you start painting, drawing, and why?
My ex-partner taught me how to paint. Gosh, I feel like I was like 22 when I started painting like traditional tattoo flash. And that's done usually with like a process called spit shading, where you use a lot of your own saliva in the watering down of the ink. Yeah, I know it sounds gross. We put our heart and souls into these paintings.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. So I started doing that, and like I would do it in waves. I would like have like periods of like painting a lot, and then I would be discouraged a little bit by my own artwork and like kind of stop for a bit and then pick it back up. And yeah, I was painting like a lot for like the year and a half before I started tattooing, like really focused it and thought that I was like, getting really good. And I look back now and I'm just like, wow, those are bad.
I guess you get better the more you do it, right?
Yeah.
Like, were you doing like at home or like when you started with your friends, was it like at their houses?
Tattooing?
Yeah.
So I never really wanted to tattoo out of my home. I didn't want that reputation to kind of follow me as like a home tattooer.
What is?
It's kind of looked down upon to do it out of your house. It's not looked at the most like clean place to be tattooing. So because I didn't want to do that,
Even if you have like a section just for that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's just like, it's just a thing you don't really want to carry. Or I didn't anyways. Like that might be okay for somebody else. It was not what I wanted to do. So I rented basically a storage closet it was big enough for you to set up a massage table, but I would have to ask somebody to leave the room to turn it around.
Oh no.
So it was like this really small space, and I had all my supplies there and my sink, and I had already done like bloodborne pathogens training.
What was that?
Just like cross-contamination and stuff like that. So I'm not going to give
oh.
anybody any kind of like disease.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I had already done that because I had worked as a piercer. So I had a basic understanding of how I wanted that to operate. And I had worked in tattoo shops as well. So
what did you do in the tattoo shop?
I managed a tattoo shop and I pierced as well.
So what would that, like bookings and stuff, is that what you'd be doing?
Yeah. When I was working there, I was doing booking, a lot of cleaning, stuff like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Just getting the artists whatever they need. So,
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. So then you get this storage space. How long were you in there for?
I was in there, I think, for like a year until I moved to a slightly bigger room in the same building. And then my partner, Alex, joined me. Alex Duquette Tattoos. He has a really cool company called Take to the Grave as well. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, he joined me and we had like a little space together, but it was like still pretty small and it was really hot in there. The air conditioning for the building like didn't reach, so we would come into tattoo in the summer and it's like 30 degrees. So we ended up just like usually like leaving for the whole summer and traveling in our van and avoiding the shop. Yeah.
And how long were you in this new, smaller, super hot place?
It must have been like another year that we had that lease, I feel like. Yeah, and then I briefly went to Port City, and then I jumped over to Darling Tattoos before I opened my shop, Three of Swords.
So how long were you in each of these places?
I think I was at Port City for like 6 months and Darling for about a year and a half.
How do you...
Does that make sense? Like 4 years of tattooing?
Yeah. One half.
Yeah.
And then you set up your place. So, like, how do you decide when to join a place and when to leave?
I had like basically like when my lease ran out of that really hot building, I just needed a place to go. So really I just like reached out to different friends I wanted to work with and then like did everything by that. But the goal was to find when I quit that lease of my place, I did want my own place again, and it was just kind of like put on hiatus of like finding the right space, just because there's nothing for rent in Halifax that I could afford at the time or that like I really fell in love with. I really wanted like the area to be like central by North Street. I've lived in that area for like ever, so yeah, it had to like be the right one.
Okay, so then you reached out to your friends, and what would they have space, or how would that work?
Yeah, usually like with tattoo shops, like there's like if there's a spare booth available, like enough room for you to set up a bed and like have all the supplies and stuff in your cabinet. You don't need a lot of space to tattoo, but if there's room, usually you can come.
So 6 months then, and then like how many tattoos would you do in like a day, or is it like a week?
It really depends on like the size of the tattoo. Like sometimes if I'm doing like a really hard placement, I'll just book like the one. I like to do 2 tattoos a day that are like a couple hours long each. So like something like hand size and then another like hand size piece. And then squeeze in maybe some small ones in between. But like my ideal day is like from 12 to 6 and I do 2 tattoos back to back and then go hang out with my dogs.
How many dogs do you have?
I have 2.
What are their names?
Tiki and Ghost.
Oh, Ghost
little...
is Ghost like super white?
No, he's black.
Oh.
He's like, they're both long-haired Chihuahuas.
Oh, those small, tiny.
Yeah, really yappy.
I didn't.
Yeah, those ones. Yeah.
Okay, so in so your port city is fixed 6 months, and then you just like, was it like you wanted to move to Darling for a particular reason, or
Yeah, I had like told the owner there that I was gonna do 6 months to kind of figure out
okay.
what I was gonna do and then like make a decision, and that time had come and Darling had just opened and I wanted to try that out. So we tried that out. But like both shops were really great because both of them allowed me the opportunity to come and pay like a rent to the shop, but also have my freedom to like go and travel and do guest spots, which was like my main focus for the first few years before like I've now opened my shop. I feel like that means that I have to settle down a little bit.
So let's talk
But I
about
don't
it.
really want to. But like with COVID, I guess, you know, we're going to be doing that.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
talk about the guest spots thing. How does that work? So you own a say you own a shop, then what happens?
So you can contact other artists that could come through and work at your shop. When you're like a tattooer, you just really need your like machines and your power supply and like your favorite, you know, needle groupings to like take with you, set up at somebody else's shop. Everything else is like medical supplies that a shop would have. And just come down, contact some people, and book appointments. So it's really easy to go anywhere you want with tattooing, you know. You can see the world and do it, but it also means that every vacation turns into a work trip. So there's that.
So I guess what was the very first place you went to like be a guest artist?
Oh, actually, it was Ottawa, and it was Blue Blood Tattoos. I really love everyone over there. They're super awesome.
How long were you there for?
I think I did like a couple days guest spot, my first one. It was like so terrifying because the first time that you go, and I just felt like, oh my gosh, it's so nice that they're gonna like allow me to tattoo at their shop, and you know, they're all so good. And I was just like so overwhelmed and so grateful. And yeah. Every time I go somewhere, I'm like, oh my God, thank you guys. Thanks for hanging out.
So how long? How long ago was that? Like what, 2 years ago?
That was like very early on in my career. Like I think I was tattooing for like 6 months.
What?
Yeah, I know. I felt like I really like was faking it till I made it. And I just felt like if I just like keep pretending I'm supposed to be here, like hopefully nobody kicks me out. Yeah.
So, and what are some other places you've been to?
So I've tattooed and traveled like across Canada pretty much. My partner and I used to have an old van that we lived in the summer, and we would just drive it cross country and like do guest spots along the way. I've tattooed in New York. I really love it there. I hope I can go back again soon. Yeah, just anywhere really that like invites me to tattoo, I would like to go tattoo.
What is it like being with someone that also does the same thing you do?
It's awesome, but it's also frustrating.
Right?
Yeah. So we talk about tattoos like all the time, and I can't imagine not being able to talk about tattoos all the time, but then we're never not talking about work. It's a lot better now that we don't work together, because before, like working together, living together, and then tattoos, we would like just hear every conversation the other person had all day, and like, yeah, it kind of drove us crazy. So it's nice to work separately, and then we all have our like work friends and everything. Yeah.
How long have you been together now?
It's like almost been since like the beginning of my tattoo career.
Oh,
So
wow.
I think I thought that we were together 3 years, and he corrected me the other day that it's almost 4. But yeah.
I don't know if you've seen the movie Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Is like old, but it's like with Brad Pitt and
And Angelina.
Yeah. So, you know, when they're having the session with their therapist, right? One always corrected that. I think the other one was we've been together like 5 years, and the other one would say 6. It's like,
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
So he like owns his own shop, or he's like.
He works actually at Lyle Street Tattoo. It's also Slinger Cycles. It's over in Dartmouth. Really cool shop. There's a bunch of really rad people that work there. Cassie Crimson, Beastloaf 666, who is Rochelle Gammon, Lizard Queen Tattoo, who's Elizabeth.
Oh, that's a big shop.
It's a big shop. Yeah. Yeah. Also JJ, who's New Ground Inc. I don't want to leave anybody out here. I'm going to feel really bad if I forgot somebody. But yeah, they're really awesome and I love those guys.
Who has more tattoos?
Out of me or my partner?
Mm.
I don't know.
Have you tattooed him and vice versa?
Yeah. We were supposed to tattoo him again the other day, but he kind of was like, I don't want to. And I was like, yeah, cool. I don't either.
So I guess what's the process for that? Like, does he pick some art to meet, or is it the other way around, or?
I feel like when we tattoo each other, it's like, hey, babe, can you fix this piece up? Like, he redid my elbow because it was very faded. It was like the first tattoo on my arm. So, he gets all those jobs for me.
I talked with someone, I might have forgotten, so correct me. But like, apparently where there's like bone hurts the most.
Bone isn't fun. So like, you're like touching here. Like when I had my throat tattooed, the part that like came down onto that like chest plate was definitely the worst. Also like the stretching involved in that, you have to like hang your head off the tables, the skin's all
so like
out.
Does like would the needle not touch something in there, like your, like I don't know,
No, we don't go that deep.
Oh,
so we're only
okay.
going like very small, just into your dermis there. So, yeah.
How many I guess like when you work on a tattoo, how many do you just use one needle throughout for that tattoo, or do you have to change needles, or?
So like for me personally, I have a certain amount of like certain needle groupings that I like to use, and needle groupings would be like configurations. So like I like to line with a lot of like nines. So nines are just like 9 needles grouped together to like a point. And then a shader, like a 9 shader would be because we're filling in space now and it's bigger, the needles are like stacked, so it would be like 5 and 4. But that's like not even that big. Like the big needles don't really hurt. It's the small ones you gotta watch out
It's the small ones that hurt.
Yeah.
Like the machines that they use, are they noisy? Do they make any noise?
Mine are. I like noisy machines.
So like, what makes the noise? Is it the needles moving, or like the machine, the motor inside?
It's usually like the contact points of the machine like slapping back and forth.
Oh,
so
okay.
like machines that there's different kinds of machines. Like a coil machine makes a lot more noise. And a rotary machine is usually run on a motor, so that can be a lot quieter. However, they do make ones that have motors that are a bit louder. Like I use one that's a little bit louder.
So what, I guess, is the difference between the types of machines? Like, is one better than the other, I guess, is what I'm asking.
No, it's just whatever your tool is and whatever you've mastered and what is your preference. With tattooing, I find there's a lot of people that want to say this is the right way to do it and these are the right machines to use and the right groupings, but it's really all relative to what you do as a tattooer and how you put something on skin. So it's really important as like a new tattooer to like try everything, every little bit of information that you get from somebody, like store that and try it out,
And how do you decide the people you let tattoo you?
Just like people.
I mean, other than your partner.
People whose work I really admire and that I want to learn from and stuff like that. Like before I started tattooing and I knew I wanted to, I would like, a lot of my legs are done by people who like I really wanted to be able to sit there and be like, oh, that's how they're doing that. Okay. Like I remember watching like the dots being done in this and like thinking like, oh, he's like slowing down his machine and like whipping it out. And I still like think about that when I do dots, like filling in like this, So.
Okay. So like, even though you're getting tattooed, you're still learning in the process.
Yeah.
I mean, but you can't learn while your neck is being done.
You can't. No, you just close your eyes and you hope it's over quickly.
How long did it take?
That one took too long.
Why
That was like 2.5 to 3 hours. But like when you take a spot like this or like on the ribs and stuff, you have to be stretching the skin to tattoo it. So when you stretch out, that image becomes like twice as big. So yeah, it might look like a small tattoo right now, but when you stretch out, it doubles in size.
So like, what? I come to your shop, I see one of the images, I'm like, oh, I like that one. What happens from there?
That's like my favorite. So when people come in and just pick something off the wall, Usually that's something that we've bought as like flash for sale, or I've designed myself and put it up in our studio. So it's
So
stuff
what's
that
flash?
Flash is designs that are like pre-done and painted. They're designed to be tattooed as many times as requested. Classically, when you would walk into a tattoo shop before custom tattoos were a thing, because that came along a little bit later. So like back in the day, you would walk in and you would pick your design off the wall with the price and everything, and that's what you would get. I really like operating that way.
Okay.
I find it's really fun. I like those kinds of tattoos too. They're very like bold and simple. Like you can see that tattoo from across the street and know what it is. So that's
I mean, because that's
appealing.
another thing. So then I pick it up. What happens? Do we like have a discussion? It's what happens?
Okay, so you picked your design, and I say, Israel, where we putting it? Tell me your ideas. I just like inform you of like the best choice for that. Maybe we're gonna put the stencil a couple different places to help you decide. Once we pick it, we stick it. And yeah, that's it. Really, it's pretty simple.
So like if it's something on the shoulder, you do it seated or you lie down?
It really depends how my back's feeling that day. But I like to lay people down for their tattoos. They seem more at ease when they're laying down. They're less likely to feel like dizzy and lightheaded. That's a little bit of a concern if they're sitting up, that they might fall out of a chair or something. I've seen that happen. It's not super common that people pass out, but it does happen, and it's usually just their own anxieties, like they're really like worked up and everything. And once we start, there's like a pressure drop in their body because they're like, oh, this is it, but then they're
But so you're already lying down.
yeah.
Oh
So-
man, gosh. I mean, so how do you handle it? Do you stop and wait for them to wake up, or?
Oh, of course, yes. We don't keep going. We would stop. I like to get everyone like a cold compress for the back of their neck, get them some sugar, like, just talk to them. And you can tell when somebody like passes out and stuff, their lips kind of lose color and everything, and
Oh,
they get
wow.
very clammy and sweaty. You can kind of see it happening. With masks now, it is harder. So when I've had somebody pass out during COVID, I've had to like get them to lay down and like remove their mask so I could watch like the color of their lips come back to be sure. But that's the only time we would have them do that now. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I guess this is a good time to come to COVID. Like, you guys have been pretty much prepared for COVID. Like, you guys
Yeah.
being tattoo artists, right? Like, because you're always masked up and you have gloves and,
Yeah.
you clean every damn
Yeah,
thing.
you just walk in the tattoo shop and it smells like chemicals, It smells like, or it should. If you walk into a shop and it doesn't smell like clean, then be worried. But yeah, we're like really ready. So the only difference is that we're only allowing like one person in at a time, just to limit like how many people we have to contact trace. And then we're wearing masks all the time, but like masks for some tattooers were happening anyways. Like I know some tattooers wore them all the time when they tattooed. I personally wore them if like I was tattooing an area like maybe like a chest and I'm going to be breathing my mouth air into your mouth air, and that's not great. I drink a lot of coffee, so you don't want that. And yeah, so
Wait, is there a lot of coffee? How many cups would you say is average for you in a day?
like 3 usually before I leave the house, and
Oh!
then I have 1 at work. But now, like maybe before that was more, but since it's hard to like stop and have a drink with a mask on, I'm drinking less coffee. But yeah, coffee's my jam.
Okay, so, you work at Port Cities, you work at Darling Tattoos. At what point did you know, like when you were at Darling and Port Cities, you were still traveling, right? And
yeah.
stuff. And like, were you still doing the driving in the summer with your partner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I guess at what point do you say, okay, fine, I want to start, like I want my space again?
It was just, I don't know what really like made me decide now. Like it was something I was thinking about for a long time, and I would be into the idea and then I would let it kind of fizzle again, because I was having a lot of fun at that time as well. But it just kind of fell into place when I looked at a location that happened to be like really close to my house. I have like a 3-minute walk to work.
Oh,
It's like
wow.
an awesome commute. And I met the woman who owns the building. She was really lovely. She owns a production company and the Elliot and Vine restaurant that I'm right next to.
Oh, nice.
Her name's Johanna, and she just felt like, I want to be in business with this person. And even though the place I looked at wasn't the most like lovely, it needed a lot of work. We did a lot of work in there. But everything about her felt right. So just went ahead and did it, even though it was a little bit scary and I wasn't probably as ready as I should have been. But then I had 3 months of close downs to get really ready. So
One thing that I picked up in like just talking to you is that almost everything you kind of have to go with the vibe you feel like. Is that?
yeah, that's a pretty big feel in my life. Like if I meet somebody and like I don't feel like comfortable or like trustworthy around them, I just kind of don't go with them, Like I just follow my heart as much as possible. It's proven to me that like, I should listen so many times that like I try to now, right?
Because you don't listen when something bad happens or like
Yeah.
just a negative experience.
Yeah, well, like with COVID and everything, like, so my shop was supposed to open on April 1st, and I kept saying to my partner, like, gosh, I like just like can't sleep at night. I really feel like something's like gonna happen and I'm not gonna get my permit or something. And he's like, babe, why wouldn't you get your permit? Like everything's right. We know it's right. Like what could go wrong? And I was like literally nothing, but like I just have this feeling we're not going to open in time. And then yeah, we were like delayed until June 20th with all the COVID closures. So, like just should have trusted my gut, but how would I know that that's going to be a thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now the shop is open. How was that for you? Like, first day in, describe that feeling.
The first day in was a little scary because I didn't know where anything was and I hadn't tattooed in so long. So my good friend came in.
Yeah, you could.
Yeah, it was a while. And I thought like, it should be like riding a bike because I had done some time on like trips, that I hadn't tattooed for like a week or two. But this was a lot longer than that. So it took me a couple like little tattoos before I was really like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's coming back. I know what I'm doing. But it was all like on my friend, and she was very supportive and very nice. And like,
you have
you're
the
gonna
nicest
be okay.
friends.
Yeah.
So and then so now things are picking up at the shop.
Oh my gosh, we're so busy. Since like we've rebooked all the appointments that had to be delayed because of COVID, we're like booking into almost November now, I think. Yeah, it's scary to have so much in your schedule because I am so used to having a loose schedule where I travel and stuff. And like now, like looking at all these appointments gives me so much anxiety, but I guess I'm not going anywhere. We're all staying here. So that's fine. And it's really great to see.
Yeah, on the other hand, I think in the world, we are one of the safest places
we
to
are,
be
yeah.
right
I'm
now.
very happy to be here right now. Yeah.
So one thing, I think I don't know, a couple of weeks ago there was a post, and like I think we live in a world now where like news is always on the phone, Instagram and stuff. So this article goes on about like a tattoo artist that was like facing criminal charges, I guess.
Yeah.
And then I saw your post and I was like, oh wow. It's like, because in my mind, I mean, when people tattoo, it's like, especially like in super intimate parts of their body, I'm just thinking, you kind of have to develop a level of trust to the person, or either you're doing with someone like you're close to or someone of the same gender or stuff. Before we even get to that, like, when someone meets you, say they want to put a tattoo at a private place of a body, like say on their breast or like really close to their pubic region, what is the process for that?
So I would have a consultation. I'm just going to talk about how I would do
this.
Yeah. So I would have a consultation with somebody, make sure it's something that they want and they're going to be comfortable doing when they come in for that piece. I try to like block off the area that we're using in the shop. Like my shop is open concept, but I have like privacy dividers and screens so that we can, have our area that's not going to be intruded on, or somebody's going to like pop in the window and see you. When I'm doing that and I'm like placing stencils and doing my work, there's a lot of like touching the body in ways that's not just where you're tattooing, because you have to stretch the skin to tattoo and stuff like that. So I always like to make my clients aware of where I'll be touching them and like, is this okay? When you're touching a client, you have to have their consent to do so. So like when I'm placing designs and stuff on them, I like to just kind of like before we go into it, kind of hold it next to their body and ask them where they're thinking, and that before I like touch them at all. Tattooing is like a very intimate experience, and we're trusting each other a lot. So I'm trusting my client to not move and take my body into consideration as well, because if they're jumping around, I could have like a needle prick, and that would be really bad. Like I don't want that to happen. So I'm trusting them. They're trusting me to mark them for life. That's huge. So I feel like we're having like an intimate experience in a sense that we're exchanging energy and trust. So it's really unfortunate that people are taking advantage of that situation.
So I'm guessing like I mean that's your approach, but like I don't know if there's like a tattoo school or whatever, but is there like a, I guess like set of rules or requirements when it comes to something like that? Like is there a body that kind of not regulates, but helps with making such decisions when it comes true, or is it like once a client comes and they want to tattoo an intimate part of their body, it's kind of like the consent is implied already?
It is, but like you have to keep checking in, right? Yeah. There's nobody like really regulating that. We do have like a health board and stuff, but nobody's coming in like HR to check to make sure everyone's being appropriate with their clients and everything. It's very self-regulated in the tattoo community, and there's like a movement happening all over the place, like not just Canada, where people are calling out people in the industry. Clients are calling out tattooers that have like mistreated them, like whether it be like just bullying, harassment, or sexual assault. People are coming forward now, and they're less afraid to do so with like accounts like Survivors Voices and stuff like that. And this case that we're talking about in Halifax, somebody was actually charged here.
One thing that just always comes to mind is when you're putting a tattoo in like a super private part of your body, you're trusting the tattoo artist to do that. But like as a client, like I guess at what point is it just how I feel individual, like okay, maybe you shouldn't be touching me that way, but like I wouldn't know, like, because you're talking about stretching and stuff, like how would I as a client know when okay, maybe this person shouldn't do that?
Maybe when they're asking you to remove clothing that isn't necessarily going to be in the way of the area that they're tattooing, that would be a red flag. Say you're getting a thigh tattoo here, but this person's maybe touching you like up here or like anywheres that's not really near your tattoo. These would be all warning signs. Things maybe your tattooer is saying to you that seem a little bit like crossing the line. We're in a professional relationship. There should be professional conversation happening. Your tattooer shouldn't be contacting you after asking you to go out on dates or using
What the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm saying, like how does
maybe
yeah, but
you
like
can fall in love with somebody, but
yeah, but
you
like
shouldn't have them sending you inappropriate messages late at night or
it's kinda,
whatever.
Ooh.
Yeah.
But now okay, so the reverse, like being a female tattoo artist, right? Do you ever get the male client being inappropriate?
I've had male and female clients be inappropriate. But yeah, I've received like some photos from people who I did not want to see. And in those instances, I just don't work with those clients,
Makes it super easy.
Yeah. Yeah. They made the decision for me. So, yeah.
So I've never had a tattoo before, but then I have friends that have, and like I think for me it's just a pain thing, but also too I'm super indecisive. So I'm like I know I'm gonna put something on my skin. I'm like the fuck did I put there? You know, like I think the one like putting someone's name or something. But like also when it comes to tattoos, like skin tones are different. Like are they processes or like what's the process for a tattoo artist when someone brown or black comes to the shop and they want a tattoo?
Well, I've heard people say and other artists say before that, like, color can't be done on dark skin, which is completely untrue. When you think about tattoos and like our skin tones, so we're putting color underneath the skin and then our skin's growing over that and our skin tones become kind of like a filter as to what that color is like going to look like through. So they're going to look different on all of us. Your tattoo artist should be able to choose those colors and know what they're going to look like healed in the skin to work with your skin tone and have the complementary colors. Like when we're looking at a color wheel and across the wheel, like we want something to pop with another color. So we're going to use like a contrasting color to bring the other color out forward, Yeah, and we can use like our light tones and our dark tones to help create more of a dynamic image as well in your skin.
Oh man, it's like a science. It's like a science experiment. But like I've been to your shop and it really looks good.
Thank you.
So do you like what was the plan for decorating and stuff? Like did you draw it out or?
I brought a lot of stuff from my home. I wouldn't say I'm a hoarder, but I have like a lot of things that I've been collecting over time. And I just like love like antiques and like kind of Victorian imagery. And I went with like a very nice like dark green on my walls. I really wanted a color that is like calming. I like aromatherapy as well. So when you walk in the shop, like other than, like, the chemical smell and the clean, there's also like a lot of lavender.
Yeah.
There's a lot of lavender in my soaps when I'm wiping down the skin as well. I just want to create like an environment that's also an experience for my clients. So when they come in, they do like feel comfortable. Like you feel welcome and at home when you come into the shop. And that's what I was hoping to achieve. Yeah, and I think we have. That's nice.
But was air conditioning something you had to consider when getting that space?
Yeah, and we have it, and it came with it. So that was like, yeah, that was great.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm gonna end with this. Like, what now that you know, like you're pretty much forced to stay here because of COVID. But say COVID was lifted tomorrow, it won't happen. But let's say tomorrow that happened. What would be the plan?
I think the plan for now is just like staying put in Halifax for a little bit to like, really get the shop going. I really want to encourage like other artists to come through and come guest with us at Three of Swords. We have a really great lineup coming up. We have Dane Hiltz is in the shop next week. He's from Annie Ganesh. Then I have Elle Munster. She's a local microblader. She does brows and freckles. After that, we have Julian Boudreau. He's from Moncton. And then I think Tony Stalin and Derek Curry from the Rising Tide in Cape Breton are going to come down as well. And then we just had Sarah Baldwin from Newfoundland. So I just want to create this space that I can have my other tattooer friends and colleagues like come by and like welcome them in, have my clients get other cool tattoos from other amazing tattooers that I know are trustworthy and I vouch for it. So yeah, that's probably the plan for the next little bit.
Yeah, so if you've done all this in 4 years, what's going to happen in the next 4 years? I can't wait.
Oh my gosh. I don't know. We'll see.
Thank you so much for coming on your
Thanks for
podcast
having
today.
me.